as we connect, well, I have no idea what happened next. But when I came to, I was told it looked something like this. And this was one of my first experiences with understanding what it means to apply bad information. And I see this happening every single day in sales, is that so many sales reps in all different industries are using some hodgepodge of what maybe, one former manager said here, or one mentor said here, or one person on the street said here, or a customer said, or maybe we saw it in a movie. I mean, really, right? And we take it together and we say, this is how I sell. Any other industry, right? If you want to become an accountant or a CPA, what do you go through in order to become an accountant or a CPA? I mean, countless hours of training and education. What do you do in order to become a sales rep? You say, I'll do it. And then they give you a card and they say, go sell. They don't give you a card. You got to print out your own card. Sales is about having good conversations with people. And how we're going about having those conversations is really, really important. And so I think you're going to get a lot of great ideas. And my goal is twofold. One is that you walk away with some tangible, actionable ideas that you can put into your selling world right away. The other is that we really change our mindset towards what selling in today's world really looks like. The typical rep is doing this. They're walking into their customer's office and they're saying, I got the best stuff. I got all the coolest frames. And oh, by the way, if you buy today, I can get you a better discount. And they're like, well, what if I buy tomorrow? Like, oh, no discount tomorrow. When we use the word discount in selling, it actually drives down sales. That's just the data. The sales rep is as relevant as it ever has been. Half of customers decide whether they want to stay with a company or work with a company based on simply the sales rep. Half of that decision. When people come up to me after this program, they always say, oh, that was great, but what would you say is really the key to success in sales? And I'm always brought back to a quote by J. Paul Getty. J. Paul Getty was the founder of Getty Petroleum, started the Getty Museum, wildly successful person. And he famously said that the formula for success is to rise early, work hard, and strike oil. Now, tongue in cheek, but I think that it actually points to a lot of mystification around what leads to success in sales. I meet thousands of salespeople every year, and I always ask them, what would you say is the key to success in sales? And I almost never get the same response twice. We've taken some data across all industries, and we see that average reps, their numbers are going down. So remember that first statistic I showed you, quota attainment has gone down. But what's interesting is that top performing reps, their numbers are doing what? Going up. Top performing reps are becoming more successful in this marketplace while the average rep is going down. So whatever those top performing reps are doing is actually allowing them to really rise way above the competition. What actually happens when we're going in front of a prospect and just immediately pitching? The prospect is going to go into what we call the high cheat steal system of buying. They see this guy, and I don't care. Some people are really creeped out by that guy. I don't care if you're dressed in a way that is super professional. If we're going in and we're immediately pitching on all of the amazing products or the discounts that we have, this is what happens. They go into high cheat steal system of buying. How do prospects hide from us? How do they hide? They literally hide, right? They physically hide. They cheat. They say they're going to do one thing and they do something else, and then they steal. What are they stealing from us? Our time and our information. Who here has bought something large, like a car or a piece of furniture in the past 2 years and had to deal with a sales rep in order to do that? Yeah. So if you, let's say, went to buy a car and you told the rep, the rep is like, oh, and we can do this and this. And let me show you, by the way, the radio. It's got Sirius XM radio. Oh, listen to that. No commercials, huh? Pretty cool. And then in the end, you're like, no, I'm not going to do this. No, most people don't say that. What do most people say? Oh, this was great. You did such a great job. Thank you so much. You know what? I'll be back next week. I'm just going to talk to my partner about this. Yeah, and then what happens? Disappear, right? We disappear. So we ultimately have to break that pattern. We need to break that pattern with a pattern interrupt. Chances are the people that pushed back in their head most hard on that are the people who are also making the most common mistake, which is how most reps sell, which is this. Most reps are using the ShamWow approach to selling. And the data is unequivocal on this approach. By the way, who's ever seen a ShamWow person in action? It is amazing. I mean, they're just crushing it with the mic, and they're like, sir, and let me show you the features of the ShamWow. It's pretty fun. But what I can tell you is that the data is unequivocal, that it doesn't work in face-to-face sales. Because we're in the business of building relationships, of having conversations like real people. The ShamWow guy he's at BJ's just trying to get people's attention. And so that's an effective approach. But what we find is that the data shows that 3/4 of sales meetings don't generate that second meeting simply because the salesperson didn't know enough about the buyer situation to provide the value that would lead to that second meeting. Persuasion actually hurts in the sales process because your prospects are really smart people. Most of them are highly educated, and the old school coming up with the line or the magic bullet line to get them to buy just simply doesn't work. Let me actually demonstrate. Sir, would you come up? Thank you. What's your name? Anthony. Give Anthony a round of applause. This guy is awesome. All right. Anthony looks like a strong guy. Anthony, would you put your hands up, sir? Okay. 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 Okay, I'm pretty. Thank you, sir. Give the man a round of applause. He was awesome. You can take a seat now. That was it. So, what did I just do with Anthony? I pushed him, and what did he naturally do without any setup? He pushed back. That's right. I didn't give him any setup. I push. He naturally pushes back. This is reactance in nature. This is exactly what happens, and this is what happens when we're trying to persuade customers of a certain opinion that is in that kind of salesy way. The less successful sales reps see themselves as in a win-lose relationship, where if they make a sale, it's somehow taking something from the customer, which is why we're nervous or we're worried when we get in front of a new customer. It's like we're taking from them. But the reality is that good reps see themselves as in that win-win relationship. The win-win relationship is that I'm going to help you, Anthony, solve a problem, the customer, and in return for that, you're going to pay me and I'm going to make money for that. And that's fine. That's a win-win relationship. This is the most profound piece of data in sales today. This little graph shows the talk to listen ratio of top reps versus average and bottom performing reps. And what's interesting is that average reps and bottom reps are pretty similar. But top performing reps are doing a lot more what? Listening. That's right. They're doing less talking and more listening. It's the bottom performing reps who are coming in and they've got all the solutions and they've got all the deals and they've got all the cool stuff. And the top performers are simply there to listen, to understand what's going on. And then at the end, once they've learned as much as they can, then they're presenting a solution. For years, I've always been saying, we've got to be asking more questions. We've got to be really finding out what's going on in their world. They say, oh, okay, yeah, questions, I get it. And they start to use who, what, where, when questions. We say, to find out what's on the screen. They say, okay, so is it a person or a place? Is it inside or outside? Right? Would you like the frames in blue or red? Those are not sales questions, in my opinion. Sales questions are, and thank you, sir, for another version of it. We want to be saying to our customers, tell me what's on the screen. What's going on, right? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing? What is most concerning to you right now? Tell me more about that. We want to find out what's on the screen. And what's amazing is that our customers are always willing to answer that if we just ask the right way. And so what we really want to find out is what's on the screen. The data, again, is unequivocal. Top performing reps ask about twice as many business-related questions. Having a real process, like an accountant would have, or an attorney, or an investigator, right? There are tools that we can be using to be more effective at getting people to open up. If you've ever been to a psychologist or you have a psychologist, psychologists are, by the way, the most annoying people to have in your family because they use their stuff on you, right? You're like, I'm mad at you. And they're like, tell me more about that. And you're like, that's not what I want to hear. But they can't help it because they're using their process. And that's what we're going to do. That's one thing we found is that top performers are obsessive about establishing next steps. They're always scheduling that next meeting when? Right now, when they're in front of the customer. They're not checking back in 2 months and say, hey, maybe can I drop by in 2 months? They're actually getting it in the calendar. The data shows that human beings are born with 2 fears and 2 fears only. The first is the fear of falling, which makes sense. People don't want to fall. And the other is loud noises. Those are the only 2 fears that we're born with. We are not born with the fear of walking into a new customer's office. Go to your 5-year-old kid and be like, hey, walk into that office and start talking to people. And if you've got a certain kind of kid, they're going to be like, awesome. Right? We only learn this stuff later. What is the worst thing that could happen in a selling situation? I mean, in any selling situation, what is the worst thing that could really happen? I would argue that it would look something like this. And what do we say to that? Next! There is no real danger in our world. It's all up here. What would you say really separates the winners from the losers coming out of a national sales meeting? Yeah, fearless, perseverance. Yeah, and I heard some other people. It's about action. It's about taking action. Nothing happens until something moves. Now, he obviously meant it in a very different context, but nothing happens until we make something move. So what are you going to make move? I will close out on one of my favorite quotes by Michael Jordan, who was one of my favorite athletes watching growing up. And he famously said that some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, but others make it happen. And if I were to ever come back to what that means to me from a sales perspective, it would be this. There are 2 categories of people in sales. There are those that talk a big game, and there are those who play a big game. And every single day, it's on us to decide which category we want to be in.